You guys have been killing the comments on the last two automatic hook setting devices that I made last year and the year before. I made one with just like straight PVC and all the elbows, and I found that it's like, you know, you can't pack it away. I have a very small ice fishing sled. So I made this one that's packable. It is made specifically for this long noodle rod, long fiberglass rod from Eagles Pro Sports LLC. So it's got a very big tip to the end of it, and that's one of the reasons why the trigger mechanism is designed how it is. And if you don't want to watch the rest of the video, that's the trigger. This is the trigger. So we have, I'm going to put a tape measure right on it just so you guys can see it, because this is the hardest part. We have to figure out 4 inches, 4 inch by another 4 inch. So you need a 12-inch piece of coat hanger or some sort of heavy wire material. So this is like really hard to bend. Basically put it in a vise and bent it. So I'm gonna set this up, show you guys how it works. And let me explain this thing. So you can look at the link in my, I'm gonna put a link below for this other video and the previous video on how I made these, how I came up with this. So this is 1 inch, 1 1/4 inch PVC by 2 feet long. I'll leave the link to that below for Lowe's and Home Depot if I can find it. It's Schedule 40 PVC. I've got that question too. I haven't painted it yet, but basically what I did is I took, since it's inch ID, inside diameter, not OD diameter, or the outside, I took a small drill bit or a Dremel tool and I drilled all the way around to get my hole size because I didn't have an adjustable hole saw at the time. Same with up here. And this is 1 inch PVC by 2 feet long. So I made that, cut them to length, and this length is depending on your rod length. So this is actually, and you're gonna have to mess with it, and that's kind of the tricky part. Every rod's different, so I have, this is a super long rod, and then this is also 1 inch PVC. So in this rod, I'm gonna measure it for you guys for reference, is like 28 inches of just the fiberglass piece. So there's that, that's the easy part, and I just have this little flag on here just so I don't get hooked while I'm filming the video. And then the cap is just the cap for a 1 1/4 inch, and that goes on the end. So it's all packable. The trigger mechanism, like I said, is coat hanger material, and it depends on the rod. So it hooks in there like that, and it goes right in here like that, and then your line comes out on top of that. All right, so hopefully you guys can see that on the background there, and there's a couple of ways to adjust it. I'm gonna put this right here. Try to get some good angles for you guys, because I know it's a little bit tricky to see. So like I said, I know it's a little bit tricky to see, but the line's right here, and this is the trigger mechanism. So the longer that you make this piece, right, the further this has to be back away from the hole. The longer you make that piece, which is currently 3.5 inches to the pivot point, the more sensitive it's gonna be. So for a trout, I wanna set this thing super light here, right on the rod tip, and then I wanna just pull that down and it's gonna trigger. So here's the shape of it. Here's the shape of it, down, over, so about a 1/2 inch, 4 inches, 4 inches, 3 inches, and then up and around for the line to set on. Okay, so that's for this rod. Sits in there just like that. And you can set it very, very light, like super light if you want to. And it all depends on what you're fishing for, how big your bait is. And you did see on one of my other videos, the second video, which I'll leave the link for that below, and I'll leave the links for all of this PVC stuff below, is I made one that was super short right here, and then I tied basically a piece of leader material to it, and so I could adjust that. It kind of worked, kind of didn't. So I like the fixed one instead. So if you have a different style rod, like this one, this is the Ugly Stick GX2 28-inch medium action. This PVC thing is not made for this rod, but it will work. This is the jaw jacker piece of plastic here, little tag, and I'm gonna basically make that work. So take that, stick that in there. So this rod is a little too loaded, right? And now that rod is loaded for that. So this is a little bit, angle's too steep and the rod's too far apart. So that needs to be shortened up a little bit, or that needs to be lengthened. Or what you can do is take a piece of braid, some heavy braid, like 40 or 50 pound, like bass fishing braid, and make your little loops yourself. They're really easy to do. And that will trigger it. So that's the shape. Let me guys know if you have any more questions, and you can adjust this. It'll take a couple tries to adjust it for your rod. If you have all the same rods, it's really easy. You're gonna make one and then just duplicate it after. So let me know if you have any questions. Make sure you guys subscribe and like this video and put any comments below.